Hey everyone, Livy here, back with another video. This is Crescent Dreams Tarot, and I have another VR to do today because I saw this tag and I was like, you know what? I've been kind of thinking about this a little bit, so perfect timing. Today I am doing Underdog decks. So this is by Krista at Crochet Witch Tarot. She splits this into two parts, okay? So there's, for Underdog decks, it's the first category are decks that you previously owned. You were like, no, I'm not vibing with this. Jettisoned it into the void, and somehow it came back to you and you rebought it and actually love it now. That's number one. And number two are decks that maybe you thought about for a long time. You were just like, I don't know. Is this for me? I don't know. Kind of went back and forth with it, and then it ended up being in your collection, and now you love it. And I actually have, let me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, I thought I was going to include another deck, but I don't know where it is. So yeah, I'm not going to include that. So I have 7 decks I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to start by saying that I don't have any decks in the first category. I don't. I'm going to be honest. Because if I don't vibe with a deck, I'm just cold-blooded. I'm like, nope, this is never going to work. And I just never, I never look back. That's just kind of how I am. So yeah, I don't have any decks in the first category. So instead, I guess I'm just going to talk about decks that I was either kind of debating on a long time before I decided to buy it, or decks I was hesitant about for forever, still curious though, and finally just gave a chance recently and then end up loving that, right? So kind of those in between. And let me see, what is the first, what's the first deck I'm on? You know what? I'm going to start with this one. Yeah, I know. This deck, I mean, I talk about this deck a lot. So you'd be like, what? How is this an underdog? You do use it a lot. And let me start by saying, I didn't think I would when I first bought it. The Lord of the Rings Tarot, right? This is an Inside Editions deck. Comes in this big box. When I first bought this deck, I'm going to be honest. Literally, I bought it because it was my fandom. I love Lord of the Rings. But I'm not going to lie. I knew when I bought it that it was a Pip style deck. And you guys know my opinions on Pip style deck. They're starting to grow on me, I'll admit. Pips are starting to grow on me, but they're not my favorite. And I prefer Pips with feelings. If they don't have feelings, then I still probably don't like them very much. So when I saw this deck, and I knew, right, it was going to be Pip style, I was like, oh God, I know it's Lord of the Rings, but am I really going to love this? And funny enough, the answer was, yeah, I actually did. See, and this is what I'm talking about. This deck has a lot of Pips, and they look like this. And Pips are not everybody's favorite. So I know I'm not alone in this judgment, right, of dissing the Pips. But what's interesting about this deck, and I think why it grew on me and became an underdog and like a fave kind of now, is the fact that when I do readings, a lot of times, interestingly enough, I'll get spreads like this that have more of the illustrated cards than the Pips, or if there are Pips, they're like what's the word? There's maybe only a few of them at a time. So for me, they're not actually, that much of a problem. And because of that, because the Pips don't show up that much, But because I guess it's also Lord of the Rings, it's fantasy, even if they are pippish or like illustrated in a way that's like very cute, whimsical, I don't have a problem with them so much. So yeah, despite everything, this deck is an underdog. Like it grew on me. I ended up liking it more than I initially thought I would because of all these pips, right? I didn't think at first that this was going to be a fave, but it ended up being absolutely a fave. And there's something, okay, I don't know anybody else who has an Inside Edition deck. I think you know what I'm talking about. If they use the same cardstock on all their decks, oh my God, this cardstock is luscious. Like something about it feels so good. I'm just in love. I'm in love with their cardstock. So I might end up down the line getting, actually, yes, I do know I'll end up getting another Inside Editions, but I'm not going to talk about that today. That's not what this video is. I'm moving on. Another deck that ended up being an underdog for me. I think I'm going in order of like decks. I don't know. Anyways, sorry. I went on a tangent and then my brain stopped and was like, no, we're not going to talk about that tangent. Just neurodivergent things. Anyways, Guided Hand Tarot. This is a deck. Oh my God. You guys know this is definitely a big underdog for me. This was a deck I was thinking about for forever. Okay. I literally had this deck in my favorites on Etsy for literal years, like years. And I never bought this deck until last year because I was convinced that collage decks, well, this is a collage deck. I don't know why I put air quotes, but collage decks were not going to be my style. Okay. I was just like, no, they don't make sense for me. I don't like when decks are super modern. I don't like seeing it. But for some reason, this collage deck just hit all the right notes. It just, and the card, oh, and another thing, this cardstock is also very buttery. I don't know what it is. And this is one of my favorite hermits. Oh, so beautiful every time. It was one of those silly things because for years, right, I put it off. I kept seeing it sometimes. This isn't a deck that I see a lot. Like I don't see everyone coming out of the woodwork to say they keep using this deck a lot. But I would see it occasionally. And every time I saw it, I was like, man, I should pick it up. But no, collage decks, bleh, I don't need them. And I'm a liar because clearly this deck worked for me. And that's what makes it an underdog, because as soon as I saw it and actually flipped through it and had like a whole experience with it, I was like, what was wrong with me? Of course I love this deck. Oh, what a plot twist. Anyways, yeah, I'm not going to spend forever talking about it because I have talked a lot about how I took forever to buy this deck. I'll end it on this beautiful lover's card. Love it. Love it. Love it. Anyways, so this was definitely an underdog deck because I literally waited years to buy this and kept trying to talk myself out of it. And in the end, I ended up buying it. Another one. Now, okay. The next, oh wait, no, actually no. I'm going to do this one first and then I'll talk about the other four because the other four are underdogs, but they're in a different way for me. But anyways, White Numen Tarot. This is a liminal 11 deck. Oh, fun fact. I'm going to reveal this now. I didn't even do that. I was thinking about doing a results video for that Help Me mod with this deck. I was going to say, oh, here's the reveal of the deck. And I decided no, and I'm going to explain why in just a second. This is the White Numen. Oops, not all the cards are coming out though. That's fun. White Numen. So what did I decide to mod this, guys? You guys can find out right now because I'm not going to do a separate video. I edged it in blue. I did pick blue. That was the winner for those who helped me mod. But I will say, man, this is not my best edging job. And part of the reason, for those who were thinking, oh, let me just edge this deck, no. I will probably not recommend edging this deck. You know why? Because this cardstock, well, you can see it's kind of, it's I wouldn't say it's a completely high gloss, but it is on the glossier side. But you can probably tell by even looking at it. This cardstock, very thick, okay? And the edging, when you touch it, it feels like it's very thick and also kind of rough, but not like completely rough. I don't know how to explain it. This edging, though, is like almost impervious to putting color into it. I'm not gonna lie, I put three rounds of marker into this edging, and it still only came out like this. And you're like, what? No, that's fine. But no, look, when you put it up on the side, you can tell it's like not, it didn't seep in enough. It's not saturated. But anyway, sorry, that was a whole tangent because I don't want to do a separate video about it. But the white Numen is another underdog for me. You know why? Because when I first saw this deck, I kept seeing it, when I first saw this deck, I kept seeing it a lot on Instagram, okay? And it looked beautiful. It was fantasy-like. And I was like, well, this could be up my alley. But for some reason, maybe it's because of the way that the people are designed in this deck. I was just like, but is this going to be a deck I always use? I don't think so. I don't know why. I was kind of just like being really weird about this deck. But then I bought it and I ended up really liking it. I mean, I'm not going to say I use this deck all the time still, but I think it's an underdog for me for sure, because one of the reasons why, actually I can highlight it right now. One of the reasons why I didn't think I was going to like this deck very much is that this deck does have like some nudity in it. And I'll admit, maybe it's because, maybe it's because I have like issues sometimes with like body dysphoria and stuff. But I don't like seeing people naked in my tarots all that often, like even her, right? But at the same time, so that's why I didn't think I was going to like this deck. But for some reason, with this deck, I'm fine with it. I don't know. I ended up getting it and being like, yeah, there's boobs and other naked people sometimes, but it's okay, right? I don't know. I don't know why these boobs grew on me. That's an awkward thing to say. Anyways, I'm going to move on. But yeah, that's why I didn't think I would like this deck, but I actually do. And I like to use it sometime. Well, I plan to use this deck more in March, but I noticed it's actually pretty good with like, I don't know, it has like a lot of wand energy. I don't know how to explain it. So for creative related readings and other things, I like to go to this one. But yeah, this is the white Numen. Did not originally think I was going to like this deck, and it's grown on me slowly. So I guess that's good. And now these next 4 decks that I want to talk about, these are definitely massive underdogs. They're still underdogs in the sense that, like, what's funny enough is, like, they're underdogs and they're decks that I do now admit I like, but they're still underdogs because they need to worm their way a little bit more into my heart before I say I'm completely in love with them. Wow, I'm creating a new thing within the underdog. Sorry. That was not originally in the tag, but I'm doing that anyways, and you guys will have to watch it. Well, no, you don't have to. You could decide to click away, but the first deck I'm going to talk about that's an underdog still for me a bit is the Stunning Tarot by Yonasa Yaos. This is the 2nd edition. She's going to come out with a 4th one soon. I heard it's longer. I have no desire to get any other edition of this deck because this is the deck that is still trying a little bit. Well, I do like it. I liked it enough that I decided to buy it. But this isn't like my usual style at all. And you guys can probably tell why, because this deck, oh, it has colors, and I do like colors, but not usually this eye-burnery of colors. But I can't help it. The second edition has these awesome backs. These are still my favorite backs. And the second edition is also in a size that's easier for me to hold because I have smaller hands. So that's also why I enjoy this. Oop, I'm going to move this up. Sorry. Why I enjoy this edition. But this deck is still an underdog for me because I haven't given it the time yet to like do readings with it. I've kind of still been sitting with the images of the cards, and I'm like, they are starting to grow on me. But this deck also, by the way, has like a lot of nudity in it, which I'm still grappling with how I feel about how the nudity is shown in this deck. But anyways, what was I saying? This is still kind of an underdog for me because it's a deck that I'm starting to like it more, and I like that this edition has more of the pinks instead of like the bright eye burner colors, but it still needs to do some work for me. It still needs to vie for my attention a little bit. And in that way, it is an underdog because it's got a lot of work to do. See, I'm pulling on the classic definition of an underdog. It's like the deck that people aren't sure if it's really going to make it. That's still an underdog. That wasn't what Krista originally talked about in her video, but I feel like these decks could fit in that category, you know? It's still trying to grow on me. I'm starting to warm up to it, but yeah, I still have work. Still have work that needs to be done for it to be an absolute love. But yeah, that's the Stunning Tarot 2nd edition. Next deck. Okay, I'm going to talk about this one because funny enough, Krista actually had this in her video. And I was like, girl, same. I was like, okay, I totally get what you mean in a lot of ways. This is the Herbcrafter's Tarot. Oh, you know what's funny? I don't think, by the time I do this tag and you guys see it, I don't think I would have introduced that I bought this recently yet. Whoops. Anyways, it's okay. You can see it now. And a lot of people have this deck. And the box does, oh, here we go. The box did not want to open up. This deck. I had very mixed feelings about this deck. When that video where I talk about the fact that I bought this deck comes out, you guys will see that part of the reason that was because I was worried about just if this deck was the right one for me, if I was going to be, oh, by the way, whoops, actually, I'm going to do it this way because this deck is still in order. And I want to keep it in order for now. I was worried. One of the reasons why I flip-flopped on this deck for forever was that I worried that the art style was too realistic for me. So I don't like too realistic of imaged art and stuff for me to want to keep it as a deck. I'm also don't know a lot about herbalism, but I want to learn more about herbalism. And another reason why this deck was like I was on the fence about this for months, like months, even from last year. Wasn't sure if I wanted this deck. The big piece of cultural appropriation. I wasn't sure if it'd be weird for me to have this deck because, well, I'm white and some of the images in here, right, make it known that Letitia, one of the creators, is half Hispanic. Latinx, Hispanic, Mexican. So obviously she includes these images and they're beautiful. But I was like, is it weird that I own this deck? And I grappled with that because I don't like to be appropriative. But I came to the conclusion that because they created this deck, there's two creators. They did this mass market. They wanted to share this with the world. that at the end of the day, it's a cultural sharing and not so much appropriation. So I was like, okay, then it should be fine. It's going to be fine. Get out of your head. And also I realized, I have a lot of important people in my life who are Latinx. I live in a community in a city that's very racially diverse. And most of the people I knew growing up were either part of like the East or Southeast Asian communities, or they were Latinx. And the students I teach are still of this culture, right? So I felt like if I ever end up doing readings more professionally, this is a deck that I could actually read for other people in my community, because, it'll be images that are relevant to them. So that's another reason why I decided to finally give this deck a chance. It's still in order because I'm debating. I really want to get into the herbology of this deck. So for now I still have it in order, because I might do a thing where I like sit with a few of the images every single day and see, maybe, I think it's an exercise in this book, like see if I can find them out in the wild. I don't think I'll find all of these. I do live in Northern California-ish region. But yeah, not all of these will be in here. But that is the Herbcrafter's Tarot, and can't wait to see how I really, really like it. But at the moment I'm excited, but I'm like still nervous. Does that make sense? That's why it's still kind of an underdog in that way. Very nervous to see how it pans out. Okay. And I have 2 more decks, so let me try to go through this. The first one, I'm going to talk about this one first, actually, yes. Whoops, it like dropped into me. This is the Hidden Forest Oracle. Now, this is an underdog also in another way, which is that I don't think I know anybody else who owns this deck. I don't know anybody. Not that I've seen on TarotTube. I don't know anybody else who has this deck. This is an Etsy deck, and the creator is right there, has a website where you can get this deck, but I got it off Etsy. It's pretty cheap. And not just because, look at this, like as soon as I got this deck, it did that denting as I tried to open up this tuck box, by the way. This is an underdog deck because, okay, I'm going to be honest. Oracles are starting to grow on me. I've noticed that this year I'll be buying, or pre-ordered, I should say, quite a bit of oracles. But oracles are still underdogs for me. In general, I just don't have a lot of them. I don't know how to feel about them. And this is one I definitely didn't know how I was going to feel, even though I was obsessed with the colors of this. And I still am. I love the colors. This is a deck, though, that has kind of grown on me. It's an oracle. As you can tell, this has no keywords, no messages. This is a deck where you need to read it kind of intuitively, and you need to already know bits and pieces about the images in which you are seeing. Now, this deck does have a cool thing where it has some spread cards, tells you a little bit about it, and it does have these other cards. So these other cards do tell you, it's not like you're lost completely. These cards tell you the meaning of all the other cards. So they have keywords. So you can get your intuitive hit still if you're someone who really needs the keywords. I don't necessarily. But the reason why I wasn't sure about this deck at first, even though I did pick it up, was, that I'm still struggling with how I use oracles. I don't always pair them with tarot. I feel like I use oracles like some people do daily tarot draws. I just like pull 1 or I pull 3. And I try to get ideas like, things to focus in on, energy to focus in on for the day. But I haven't done much more beyond that with oracle. Like, I think I've paired it with tarot maybe once or twice now. Yeah. But, so this was already going to be an underdog. Like, how do I get I don't know, how do I put more meaning into Oracle for me? And this way it kind of works. Like, it's a deck that's grown on me. I love the art. I love the colors. It's so funny in that way how it works for me. But I really like what it does also for my intuition, because there's things that I can pick on with, like the cow, boar, you know, like books, like what can I say? Oh, the moon is like so good. So there's just a lot, right? And it's also a square deck, so it wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea. But this is an Underdog because I didn't know if I was really going to like it. And then I bought it, and I just don't use it a lot in circulation. That's also why. Like, it's still trying to worm its way into my heart a little bit more, only because oracles in general kind of need to worm their way into my heart a little bit more. But I'm doing more intention, actually, with, like, picking at least one oracle to work with a month. This month is a different one, so I'm not going to get into that. But I think I'm going to be using this come March too. But yeah, that's the Hidden Forest Oracle. And finally, because I feel like I'm getting a little long-winded, the last deck that's an Underdog for me, I like it, and I think it's cool, but it honestly still needs to worm its way more into my heart, is this one. This is the 5-cent tarot. Funny enough, I had like a flip through and stuff on my channel with this deck, but this is the second edition. But the reason why this deck still kind of needs to do a little more work for me before I can say like I'm completely in love with it is for a few reasons. So this is my version. I have the lavender version. Yeah, I have the lavender version. It comes with these edges, but it looks more pink, to be honest. This deck, when I first saw this deck, I'm not gonna lie, I saw it, went too busy, next. Like, I saw this in somebody else's video, and I was just like, no, I don't think that deck will be for me. But then what happened was I got the Coastal Curiosities, and the creator of the Coastal Curiosities even said that this deck was a good pair if you wanted to pair Oracle and the tarot together. And I was like, oh, really? Let me look at this deck again. And I looked at it again. And I don't know, something in me just went, fuck it, let me just buy this deck. And I did. And I do like it. It's, you know, I've talked about this, I think, before. I actually think this is a good beginner deck. It's a more pricey one, not gonna lie. So it's definitely like if you're still kind of a beginner, but you want to splurge on a nicer deck, and you kind of have a quirky style, I think this will be a good beginner deck because obviously it has keywords on them. And that's another reason why I wasn't sure if I would like this deck. It has keywords on them, but these keywords help you remember, you know, the cards. And I'm not going to lie though. One of the reasons why this still needs to worm its way into my heart is because I find myself not gravitating towards it as often, even though I like it now. It's still, you know, it still needs to do some work for me. Oh, and I gotta be honest, I'm not actually 100% a fan of this cardstock. So you can probably tell in the light, it has texture. It's weird because I wouldn't say, the way it feels, I wouldn't call this a linen. It doesn't have the flexibility of a linen, like at all. And you could even tell by the grain on this side that the grain goes, what's it called? Horizontally, not vertically, not horizontally. Yeah. And especially on the fronts, right? Like it only goes in one direction. So it gives it this weird texture, and it's not flexible at all. You know how I know it's not flexible at all? I want to see if I can find the card. There's a card in here. I was trying to do this little thingy, just like twacking of the cards that I figured out for one of my other decks, and I accidentally while doing that twacking, I accidentally bent, like literally it was bent, one of the edges on one of these cards. And I don't know where it went. Wait, is it this one? No. I accidentally bent it. But yeah, so because of that reason, this deck is still trying to do a little work to worm its way a little bit more into my heart. But it is cool. It's a quirky deck. If you find yourself struggling to internalize certain keywords for these cards, I think this is a deck for you. I need to use it more, hence why I actually pulled it out for this month, but I haven't worked with it yet. The month I'm talking about, by the way, you guys won't see this for a little bit. I'm filming this in February, like end of February, so yeah. You're going to see it in March, but I was working on it for then. Oh, this is a cool High Priestess. So, okay, not that all these cards aren't cool. They are. I just feel like I need to do more work with this deck before I say I'm completely in love with it. And now I'm just going to do this thing to see if I can find... Where is it? When I see it, I'm going to know it's bent. And you guys can see. So that's just on buyer beware a little bit with this deck. Is that it does have... this card stock is not the greatest. I'm not going to lie. It's not like the worst I've experienced, but if you can literally bend a card on accident because the card stock is not good, I would say that's a problem, you know. And I just want to let you know that, because it is more, like I said, it is a pricier deck. This deck is like, well, I don't even know what it would be Canadian, but USD, it's at least, it starts at like $50. So what in the world? It's not here now. Maybe it like bent itself back, or maybe I already ran past it and you guys saw what card it was. But I bent one of these cards, so it got slightly jacked up. Oh, it's right here. I did. Oh, you guys can see that? See that in the light? Yeah, I jacked up this card. I bent it. It was literally bent, and I saw it, and I literally had like an intake of breath of like, like the comical, like, what in the hell? I was, but yeah, so you gotta be careful with this card stock. It's not great. But this is an Underdog, and I think it could be a really like pivotal deck in my collection. Why did I say pivotal? That may not be the right adjective. No, yeah. May not be the right adjective for this, because that's not even an adjective, I don't think. Anyways, sorry, I'm on a tangent today. Hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know what happened there. My brain's tired. I haven't eaten yet. I need to eat. But these are my Underdog decks. And yeah, I need to fix that for some of these, but some of these make a total sense now why I love them. And I'll be watching more videos, so... Bye, guys.